Chapter 92. Liu Jiwei and Sang Wansi passed the days secretly dating while filming, not delaying either. As the filming progressed, time also slowly passed until the end of August. After the hot summer days, the weather slowly grew cooler with a few traces of autumn. Liu Jiwei finally did not need to worry that her girlfriend would be too hot under all the layers of her costume. She sat on a chair and flipped through the script, reading through the story again. Because the goddess had arbitrarily changed Lin Huairou's death trial, she had already been watched by the heavens. A god could use their powers to change a mortal's destiny, but to change the fate of one's death without authorization was a big offense. Especially one like Lin Huairou's, where she was destined to die. But the heavens wouldn't send a lightning bolt to strike a kind person. Lin Huairou was different from Zhou Mingshan. Although she looked cold, her heart was kind and she had secretly saved many people, accumulating quite a bit of virtue. So by staying by the goddess' side, Lin Huairou was actually protecting the goddess. Unable to strike the goddess, the lightning flashed above, leaving unhappily. At this point, the heavens were unsatisfied with the goddess and the goddess was also unsatisfied with the heavens. They would not strike a kind person, but they could watch as a kind person died. What sort of ridiculous logic was that? Liu Jiwei flipped another 2 pages. Now, they had already started filming the scenes where Lin Huairou and the goddess were getting closer. One was because the other party had risked her life to save her, and the other was because she wanted to let the other stay and accompany her. The interest that the goddess had in Lin Huairou already far exceeded their identities as goddess and believer. With Zhou Mingshan's permission, Lin Huairou spoiled the goddess even more, letting her do whatever she wanted as long as she did not anger Zhou Mingshan. The goddess climbed onto the wall even more frequently to look at the scenery outside. But unlike in the past, now that Lin Huairou had opened up her heart to the goddess, she would listen to the goddess talk about everything that she saw. Liu Jiwei folded the page and lifted a pen, scribbling notes and drawing. The scene to be filmed next was a heartfelt conversation between Lin Huairou and the goddess. It was the first time Lin Huairou would speak of the dreams she had when she was young in front of someone. The dialogue and actions were all written clearly in the script. What the actors had to do was to perform and make sure the dialogues were expressed vividly, with each character brought to life clearly. At the same time, the actors could appropriately and logically add their own ideas to the characters based on the script. The script was a dead thing, while acting and the actors were alive, or there would not be a setting where some people act pleasingly and some people act annoyingly. Aside from filming, Liu Jiwei was still worried about the system. After asking her to solve the issue with Zhou Lingling, the system had only issued big missions like film the television drama well, film the movie well. The protagonists had already settled their relationship and no longer needed the system to worry about it. At the moment, there was only the male protagonist's career left to worry about. But the male protagonist's career had always been developing and never stopped, so there wasn't much to worry about either. Based on the current progress, aside from these bigger missions, there was indeed not much left to arrange for her. As for the prize drawing, Liu Jiwei wasn't in a rush. Drawing the prize today and tomorrow was the same, why not finish filming the movie first? If she drew an even more outrageous prize, it would not be good if her mood for filming was affected. This movie was very important to Sang Wansi. Liu Jiwei did not want anything to cause a hurdle for her. Besides, the system was there, it couldn't run away. Another thing that let her rest assured was that aside from that monster that night, there really had not been any other incidents in the world. Lao Wu had ensured their peace. Now, the biggest help she could give to Lao Wu was to ensure that she completed the story properly. Sister Jiwei. With a soft call, Lu Jiwei came back to her senses and looked towards the origin of the sound. Wen Wen stood there, reminding her warmly. Director Guo said they are preparing to start filming. Teacher Sang is already waiting for you in the pavilion. Lu Jiwei stood up and went over. Under the cover of night, in the pavilion, Lu Jiwei changed her costume and got her makeup done. It was a costume that was slightly nicer than a servant's, with an elegant pale blue color. Sang Wansi was the matriarch and naturally had more clothes. Tonight, she was wearing a more casual outfit that was appropriate for the mood. Guo Hui got everyone to get ready to start filming. Lu Jiwei and Sang Wansi sat leaning against the pavilion's backrests, next to each other. The moon in the sky was reflected on the water's surface. The night breeze was silent and gentle. Once the scene started, it was the goddess telling Lin Huairou about what she had seen from the wall today. Lu Jiwei's posture was casual and lazy as she leaned against the railing, completely disregarding propriety. Sang Wansi sat upright beside her. Even if nobody was around, her actions were flawless and beyond reproach. But in the past, Lin Huairou was a carefree person like the goddess. Looking at the person beside her, Sang Wansi's expression looked almost as if she could see the old Lin Huairou through her. Lin Huairou was similar to the goddess, yet different. The goddess had no parents and nothing restraining her, nothing could change her. Today, Lin Huairou was bound by shackles. Every move she made had to conform to her husband's wishes, she had no right to freedom. But her heart was still alive and filled with anticipation of all the beauty of the world, even if she could only get a glimpse of it from other people's descriptions. So she liked to listen to Ayu talk about what she saw. She was also willing to let Ayu go in the future and give her the freedom to see an even bigger world freely and without constraints. Madam, Lu Jiwei said her lines, do you have a place you want to go? Sang Wansi slipped into Lin Huairou's role, lowering her eyes and smiling quietly. Ever since she had gotten closer to Ayu, she had been smiling more often. I do, Lin Huairou said. The Butterfly Valley in Xiling. In the travel journal, it said the Butterfly Valley was filled with flowers and numerous butterflies filled the air. When the wind blew into the valley, the fragrance of the flowers would spread through it. And when night fell upon the valley, all the fresh flowers would glow in the moonlight. It was simply heaven on earth. So she had already wanted to visit and take a look since a long time ago. But this dream had not come true when she was in the Lin family, and now that she was in the Zhou family, there was no chance for it to ever come true. Then go and see it, madam, the goddess said. Lin Huairou turned her head to look at the goddess. I will accompany madam, the goddess continued. They looked at each other, their reflections shining on the water. At this moment, the moon was in the middle of the lake, and they were by each other's side. After a moment, Lin Huairou stood up, reaching out a hand to gently brush it against the goddess' hair. You go. When there is a chance in the future, you can go take a look for me. After that, Sang Wansi moved, wanting to walk away. Lu Jiwei quickly stood up, stopping her. Why cannot you go yourself? In the hallway, the light and shadows intertwined. The sparkling light from the water's reflection shone on the pillars and on the goddess, but none of it shone on Lin Huairou. It was like she was in an abyss with no end, with no light and nobody to save her. This lighting had been tested painstakingly by the entire crew before they could find the correct positions. Sang Wansi stood there, her slender body showing a hint of sadness. After a moment, she replied, the master does not like traveling far. Her voice faltered. I no longer like it either. The goddess watched as Lin Huairou walked down the long hallway herself. Through the camera, Liu Jiwei stood there unmoving as Sang Wansi walked out of the frame without looking back. The moon was still showing in the water, but the people were no longer there. The camera switched to Liu Jiwei. She stared in the direction Sang Wansi had left. Then after a while, she lightly said, "You are lying. When you talked about the Butterfly Valley in Xiling, your face clearly still showed longing. When you heard me talk about the world outside, you clearly still showed excitement. It is not that you no longer like it, it is that you have already lost the courage to like it." The goddess placed a hand on her chest, furrowing her brow lightly. "But why does my heart hurt so much?" Guo Hui shouted to cut. Liu Jiwei and Sang Wansi went to Guo Hui to see the scene. The lighting, the lines, the flow, it was all perfect. This take also successfully passed. The sky was clear and pleasant today. But the scene was not pleasant at all. Zhou Mingshan had finally found out that Lin Huairou secretly released the fortune teller's son, and he was in the midst of his rage. The script had written Zhou Mingshan as a particularly vicious man here. Even Luo Xin Han, who always had social anxiety, specially went to apologize to Sang Wansi before filming started. Both of them made the preparations mentally. After filming this scene, Lin Huairou's mother would arrive to criticize her before Liu Jiwei finally came to the scene. Liu Jiwei had long since been waiting on the filming set. Since it was not time for her yet, she sat by Guo Hui's side with her notebook and took notes. After Guo Hui explained the scene and the flow, she went back to her seat and called for filming to start. Liu Jiwei immediately paid attention to the monitor. Inside the room, Sang Wansi stood by the window. There was no travel journal on the table this time. She looked at the sky outside the window with emptiness in her eyes, as if she was a trapped bird that could not fly out of the golden cage no matter what. The next second, Luo Xin Han pushed open the doors to the house furiously. Sang Wansi acted as if she had gotten a shock, shrinking back into herself. The instant their eyes met, the atmosphere tensed. Sitting behind the monitor, Liu Jiwei had already unconsciously started feeling anxious for Lin Huairou. In the scene, Zhou Mingshan's face was livid and his eyes burned with fury. Lin Huairou did not know what had happened. She could only ask in a small voice, "Husband, what has happened? What has happened?" Zhou Mingshan laughed in anger, slowly closing the door. To Lin Huairou, it looked as if he was slowly killing her with 1,000 cuts across the room. "What wife has done, you still need this husband to say it." Lin Huairou lowered her head and expressed her ignorance, her hands pressed together as she interlocked her fingers in nervousness. Soon, Zhou Mingshan walked in front of her, saying mockingly, "You do not know." Lin Huairou was just about to look up. Zhou Mingshan's hand had viciously landed on her face. Slap! It resounded through the room. Lin Huairou was slapped so hard that she fell to one side, her cheek was red and blood dripped out of the corner of her mouth. Before she could even react, Zhou Mingshan had squatted down and grabbed her hair, pulling hard to make her look at himself. "Lin Huairou, where did you get the guts from? You actually dare to release someone behind my back?" Lin Huairou's eyes grew wide. She clearly understood why Zhou Mingshan was angry. "Husband? It is not." Zhou Mingshan's dark eyes were filled with coldness. "Lin Huairou, who do you think you are? You think the Lin family is still as prestigious as before your status as a matriarch is given by me? Putting it bluntly, you are just a servant who is serving me. If I want you to be a certain way, you have to be a certain way. What qualifications do you have to make the decisions? You should remember, I hate other people disobeying me the most, yes. I remember." Lin Huairou closed her eyes in despair, a single tear drop falling from the corner of her eye. This was her husband. A man who was insanely controlling. He didn't allow anything to be beyond his control, he wanted everybody around him to fit into his plans. He wanted a perfect wife, so she was put in this position and lost the right to be herself. Even if he wanted an obedient dog, she had to obediently be a dog and listen to his every whim. So she was not allowed to like traveling, was not allowed to like chestnut pastries, was not allowed to break the rules and was not allowed to do everything Zhou Mingshan did not like. This time, Zhou Mingshan definitely wouldn't forgive her. She closed her eyes, waiting for death. Unexpectedly, Zhou Mingshan was forgiving for once. Lin Huairou, since you've been good all these years, I will forgive you this once. If there is a second time, he leaned close to her ear and spoke gently, as if he was talking intimately to his wife, but his words were cold as ice. I will punish your entire Lin family. Lin Huairou looked at him in disbelief. Only to see him smile, this husband is doing good deeds and accumulating virtue. Lin Huairou had goosebumps as her face lost color. She still had no way of standing up to this man. She even had to say, "Husband is merciful." Zhou Mingshan scoffed and flung her to the ground, flicking his sleeve as he left with a cold look in his eyes. Lin Huairou was left with dimmed eyes and a lost expression. She crawled to her feet pitifully and walked to the dresser in a daze, pulling out her hairpins as she held back tears and tidied up her appearance. Her husband had said, the matriarch could not be improper, she couldn't be improper. At any time. Guo Hui liked Sang Wanxi's crying scenes the most. She could always captivate and move the audience with a single tear. At this moment, she was sitting at her dresser and holding a comb with a trembling hand. The tears were swirling in her eyes, unable to fall, not daring to fall. It was heart-wrenching. Liu Zhiwei wanted to punch Zhou Mingshan. Anti-social Luo Xin Han also wanted to punch Zhou Mingshan. Zhou Mingshan was done pressurizing Lin Huairou. Now the Lin family would come to pressure Lin Huairou. After Lin Huairou was done tidying up, she sat in the room quietly, still as a block of wood. The handprint was still visible on her cheek, and there was no light in her eyes, as if she could die and turn into a cloud of smoke at any time. She did not know how long she sat there like that for. Soon, a servant came to report that her parents had arrived. Hearing that her parents had come, her dry eyes suddenly misted over with tears. "Invite them in." She suppressed the tremble in her voice. She was aggrieved, she wanted to tell her parents and hear them comfort her, she wanted to have some support to let her cry as she wanted. But she could never have expected that she overestimated her parents. They simply did not care. So what if she suffered a grievance as long as the Lin family was not finished? It was not anything big. Being beaten by her husband, so what? She had married into the Zhou family. She was the Zhou family's human if she was alive, and she was the Zhou family's ghost if she was dead. Besides, if it was for the entire clan, so what if she got slapped? Not only did they not feel hurt for her, they even helped Zhou Mingshan scold her. "Rouer, since you have already become the matriarch of the Zhou family, then you should know to always put Mingshan first. Do whatever he wants you to do, do not touch anything he does not want you to. Do not make him angry again. No matter what, it is always your fault, you cannot blame him." That is what Lin Huairou's father said. Lin Huairou was frozen, the handprint on her face felt like another slap had landed, hot and painful. Her fault? What fault did she have? She saved so many innocent lives, what fault of hers was that? Because of her family, she didn't even have the right to feel aggrieved anymore. If Zhou Mingshan beat her to death one day, would they applaud Zhou Mingshan for it as long as the family was still spared in their hearts? was Lin Huairou a human or a dog to be used? I am tired. Lin Huairou turned around and closed her eyes, the tears slipping down her face. Please go back. Ro-er. I said I am tired, do you not understand? Do you only listen to Zhou Mingshan's words now? Okay, okay, I will go and invite him over for you now and ask him, is it right to not let the Zhou family's matriarch rest? How should that offense be punished? Lin Huairou was furious, her voice harsh. Hearing that, her parents quickly left. They knew Zhou Mingshan was scary, but they had never thought of rescuing their daughter. To them, Lin Huairou was no longer their child but a tool to be used. The two of them exited the scene. Sang Wansi stayed in the room by herself, closing the door. Her body crumpled as she sat on the ground, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. She did not make a sound, but it was so heartbreaking that everybody could feel it. The camera panned from top to bottom. She hugged herself helplessly, her shoulders shaking. The lighting was dim, making it feel like hopelessness was enveloping her and making it hard to breathe. Guo Hui indicated for Lu Jiwei to enter. Lu Jiwei had already been prepared outside the door. The ankle bell chimed, clear and pleasant. Sang Wansi's crying paused momentarily. Then, Lu Jiwei knocked on the door and pushed it open lightly, calling out, "Madam." Sang Wansi responded and turned back. Through the lens, a beam of sunlight shone in from behind the goddess, landing on Lin Huairou and breaking through the despairing gloominess. The scene got brighter because of it, with the color of hope. The goddess stood at the entrance. She saw Lin Huairou's tears and the red handprint. Her eyes widened as she ran in to hug Lin Huairou. At this moment, she was both pained and outraged. How dare Zhou Mingshan hit her again? The goddess looked at the crying woman in front of her and calmed down. She gently wiped away a tear. "Madam, does it hurt a lot?" Lin Huairou gazed at her, then slowly nodded. The goddess asked again, "Have you applied medicine?" Lin Huairou shook her head. "Did the master do it?" "Madam, I understand, I can see it." "Ah you?" Lin Huairou grabbed her hand. "Ah you, is it my fault? She endured for so long and saved so many people, why did they all think she was at fault?" Hearing it, the goddess pulled her into an embrace and said gently, "You are not wrong, they're the ones at fault. If you are wrong, if you're at fault, why would the goddess fulfill your prayer?" "Yes, yes." The heavens were watching what people did. She leaned against the goddess, grabbing hold of her unconsciously, as if she was holding on to her last lifeline. "Madam," the goddess suddenly said. "Let us go." Lin Huairou was confused. The goddess slowly said, "Let us go to Xiling to see the Butterfly Valley, I will accompany you." Here, the goddess paused, then admitted defeat and lowered her eyes and promised, "Ah you can serve Madam for the rest of her life." She had fallen. She had fallen for this believer who could deceive others and hide things in her heart. She wanted to bring Lin Huairou away from here, she wanted to have all of her love, more than just a believer's. "My madam, leave behind these troublesome matters. Nothing here deserves a single tear of yours." Only Lin Huairou's silence remained. She could not see Lin Huairou's expression. The camera did not film Sang Wansi's expression either, that way, it could captivate the audience. After a moment, she suddenly heard Lin Huairou's harsh voice, "Stop! I am the Zhou family's human if I'm alive, and I am the Zhou family's ghost if I'm dead. I am in love with Ming Shan and we share the same views. It was just a small conflict, it is not serious. From now onwards, you must never bring up these matters again. If the master hears it, I cannot protect you. In love, share the same views. Exactly what sort of love and views was this? The goddess laughed in anger, not knowing if she really liked Zhou Mingshan. The goddess looked into Lin Huairou's eyes. You really like Zhou Mingshan? Lin Huairou stood up suddenly, her voice determined. Everybody knows I like my husband. The goddess stood up as well, confused. Exactly which part of him is worth you liking him? Lin Huairou looked out the window. Every part of husband is worth me liking him. It was as if she was saying it to the goddess, but also as if she was saying it to herself. She was forcing herself to face the truth. To Zhou Mingshan, they were mere ants. The goddess scoffed in anger. She could no longer calmly watch events unfold like before. She had mortal desires in her heart now, she had Lin Huairou in her eyes now. The goddess said, "It is too painful for you." Lin Huairou did not look at her, merely saying, "My heart is a rock. It can't change." The goddess wanted to say something else. Lin Huairou no longer wanted to hear it. "Get out." The goddess was stunned. This was the first time Lin Huairou had been so stern with her. Their first conflict, and it was because of Zhou Mingshan. Lin Huairou watched as the goddess left in anger because of her, then she went back and sat down quietly. She repeatedly told herself in her heart, "I like my husband, I love him, I have to love him, he doesn't allow me to not love him." It was as if she could live a little easier if it was in the name of love. Liu Jiwei went out, and came back with a bottle of medicine. Although the goddess was angry, but she wouldn't abandon Lin Huairou. But Liu Jiwei was allowed to choose how she wanted to give the medicine to her. The script only wrote that the goddess gave Lin Huairou the medicine, but there was not even a single word of dialogue. So Liu Jiwei knocked on the door, pulled it open a crack and reached in, leaving the medicine on the floor. She pulled her hand back and closed the door, all in the same breath. It was awkward yet a little cute. Hearing the sound, Sang Wansi watched the whole process, her expression turning gentle. The act of bringing her medicine had made Lin Huairou's mood much better, and she was thinking of how to apologize to the goddess. No matter what, the goddess had said it for her own good. Her tone had indeed been a bit too fierce. She went to apologize, and bumped into the drunk goddess. This encounter would lead to a scene that thousands of viewers were anticipating. The kiss scene. This scene could only be shot at night. Before that, Guo Hui let everybody take a break and have their meal before returning. She showed more concern to Liu Jiwei and Sang Wansi. After all, this was their first time kissing someone of the same sex on camera, they had to be mentally prepared. Liu Jiwei was a little embarrassed, but she felt a little excited. They had kissed in private plenty of times, but it was the first time they were kissing in public. Sang Wansi, on the other hand, was very calm. She even whispered in Liu Jiwei's ear. "Sister, I am really looking forward to it." Liu Jiwei covered her face in embarrassment. Their CP fans were going to be over the moon. Just as they were eating, someone came to visit them. Ying Xize and Liu Shijiao. It was Liu Shijiao's first time on a filming set. She was excited but she did not dare to walk around randomly. She held onto a corner of Ying Xize's clothes and followed him obediently, afraid to cause trouble if she got lost. "Liu Shijiao, I'm scared that I will lose this dog little brother if I just turn around once." Ying Xize considerately walked slower, letting her hold onto his clothes and follow him. Until they saw Liu Jiwei and Sang Wansi. Liu Shijiao immediately let go of him and ran over with a big smile. "Sister." Liu Jiwei stood up and welcomed her sister, asking curiously, "Why are you two here?" Liu Shijiao said, I said I was going to visit you, and you agreed to. It was only then that Liu Jiwei realized she had agreed to let Liu Shijiao visit her at work a while back. But because someone was being naughty at that time, she had quickly forgotten about it. They had a day of rest tomorrow. But Liu Shijiao hadn't asked her about it. How could it have been so coincidental? I asked Xin Han. Ying Xize replied. How about it? Is it a big enough surprise? Liu Jiwei suddenly realized. Ah, yes. She forgot that the antisocial person was Ying Xize's friend. It was Liu Shijiao's first time on a set and she was amazed at everything she saw. But she wanted to see Liu Jiwei film. Sis, do you still have a scene at night? Liu Jiwei answered half-heartedly, yes. Liu Shijiao's eyes sparkled, can I watch? Liu Jiwei nodded. Then she reacted and quickly said, you can watch the first half, not the second half. Liu Shijiao, why? As someone in the same industry, Ying Xize had vaguely guessed it. Liu Jiwei looked at Sang Wansi. Sang Wansi calmly smiled, I do not mind. If she does not see it now, she will see it when the movie comes out. Liu Jiwei. My good Mimi, why did you come when elder sister is going to film a kiss scene and a vague bed scene? Liu Shijiao was still confused. What was it this child wants to know? Chapter 93. Liu Jiwei thought that Sang Wansi was being quite logical. So Liu Jiwei honestly explained to her sister the scene that they were going to film. Even if she did not let Liu Shijiao watch now, she would see it when the movie screened. There was no way to escape it. After Liu Shijiao heard it, she slowly covered her mouth, shock showing in her eyes. Then she covered her eyes too, suddenly feeling embarrassed for her sister. God, what sort of coincidence was this? God, she was actually going to watch her sister act out a kissing scene with another girl kissing in front of so many people, is not it too embarrassing? She spread open her fingers and snuck a glance at the man beside her. Then she poked him. Ying Xize, how can you be so calm? Your expression did not even change. Should not you be embarrassed at a time like this? Ying Xize chuckled and patted her head, classmate Shijiao, we're actors, it's normal for us to have intimate scenes from time to time. Liu Shijiao. Oh, right, she forgot he was an actor too. Crap. She snuck a glance at Sang Wansi. Sang Wansi was elegantly eating her dinner, clearly unaffected. She was so calm that it was like the person who was going to film the kissing scene and sex scene later was not her. Of course Sang Wansi did not mind. This was a requirement for the movie, and what was there to be unhappy about over filming an intimate scene with her beloved girlfriend? But her girlfriend's skin was a bit thin. Thinking about it, she looked up at Liu Jiwei's back, a smile in her eyes. Liu Shijiao thought about it, and decided she still wanted to watch Liu Jiwei filming. It was a proper movie, the scene shouldn't be too weird. It's so rare for her to come, she could not just leave without seeing anything, right? At most she will just watch bits and pieces. Seeing that she was truly curious, Liu Jiwei said she will speak to director Guo about it. She would see it sooner or later. Besides, what's wrong with Liu Jiwei kissing her own girlfriend? They were going to go public with it one day. Having greeted them, Ying Xize went off to look for Luo Xin Han. I'll come back when it is time for the filming. He still had to watch over the clueless child, Liu Shijiao. Night fell and the sky was littered with sparkling stars. Liu Jiwei climbed up onto the high wall again with the help of the employees. This time, she had a jar of wine in her hand and her makeup was purposefully done to make her seem like she was tipsy. Now that the goddess had the desires of mortals, she had also learnt from them how to drown her sorrows in alcohol. With Guo Hui's permission, Liu Shijiao and Ying Xize stood behind the monitors and watched. Liu Shijiao stood beside Ying Xize. If it was not for her excited expression, she would look exactly like a member of the staff. She gazed at her sister, sitting on top of a wall dressed in ancient attire. There was a crisp jingle that carried with the wind. The surroundings were elegant and simple, as if she was in a painting. If it was not for the modern lighting equipment and the crew and the cameras, it really would appear like she was in ancient times. She shook off her thoughts and looked towards her sister again. If it was not for Guo Hui disallowing it, she really wanted to snap a photo of her sister working seriously and show it to other fans. On Liu Zhiwei's end, she patted her chest and realized something was missing, so she looked at the employee on the ground and said something to them. The employee turned and searched for an intricate little bottle, then climbed up the ladder to pass it to Liu Zhiwei. She checked again and made sure everything was ready. She flashed an OK to Guo Hui. Guo Hui gave her the OK sign back. Liu Shijiao excitedly grabbed Ying Xize's arm, restraining herself from making a noise. Ying Xize glanced at her, smiling helplessly and dotingly. Everybody was in position, and filming started. This scene needed to show how despondent the goddess was. Perhaps not everything would make it into the final cut, but they still had to properly film this scene. Once it started, Liu Zhiwei immediately got into character. She lifted her head to look at the sky, a foot dangling off the wall and swaying as the bell chimed. The goddess had taken the wine off her offerings altar. Everything on the altar belonged to her, she could eat and drink all of it. Even if it disappeared, the temple would just assume a miracle had happened. There were too many miracles in this world. If someone encountered something they could not explain, they would believe in this illusion. She looked at the stars in the sky. Her cheeks were flushed and there was a hint of melancholy in her eyes. Her entire brain was filled with Lin Huairou's words, affirming her feelings for Zhou Mingshan. The goddess suddenly laughed and lowered her eyes, picking up the wine jar. In love? How could you be in love with a man like that, Lin Huairou? Could you really have fallen for him, or are you scared of something? She was always carrying a burden around, but refusing to tell it to people, even a stone statue. So the goddess did not know, and she couldn't be sure whether Lin Huairou really liked Zhou Mingshan or not. Maybe she really did like him, but that would be so painful. Liking someone like that was too arduous. She pulled out a small bottle from her clothes. The bottle was intricate and transparent, with the liquid inside faintly glowing. The potion of forgetfulness. She had even procured this. After drinking it, one would be able to forget all the memories concerning the person they loved. Since she said she liked Zhou Mingshan, then forgetting about him would definitely let her live this life a little better. When she had forgotten Zhou Mingshan, the goddess would take her away to Xiling and to see the rest of the world. The goddess gazed at the potion with dark eyes. Actually, she couldn't be sure if she had obtained the potion for Lin Huairou or for herself. She wanted to help Lin Huairou escape this bitterness, and she also wanted Lin Huairou's love. Not the love between a god and their believer, but between a couple. After a moment, she kept the potion in her treasure pouch. Then she looked up at the sky, mumbling tipsily, "I do not want your piety, I want you." Then she picked up the jar, asking herself, "It is so easy to get drunk on this wine." Outside of the set, Liu Shijiao blinked as she watched. Although she did not know what the context was, but just from watching Liu Zhiwei's acting, she knew the character was frustrated and melancholic. Liu Zhiwei's acting was good. Just a few expressions and a couple of lines could pull someone into the scene. As if it was accommodating this scene, even the night breeze felt lonely. After a while, Sang Wansi entered. Liu Shijiao saw her elegant and beautiful costume, from the collar of her robe to the hairpins, they were all exquisite and telling of her status. Liu Shijiao had to admit the netizens were right. Sang Wansi was really beautiful in ancient costume, unreasonably beautiful. If someone saw it, they would want to lock her in an ancient costume forever. Liu Shijiao paid attention to the two of them. Lin Huairou came to apologize to the goddess. Unexpectedly, the goddess was actually drinking. She did not know where this girl had learned to drink alcohol, or where the alcohol had come from. But seeing her unhappiness and tipsiness, Lin Huairou didn't want to ask. "Are you?" The goddess replied and looked down, then climbed down herself clumsily. Seeing it, Lin Huairou was surprised, quickly walking over and catching her to help her into the house. The house was dimly lit with just one oil lamp. The goddess lay on the bed and her fingers loosened as the wine jar rolled on the ground. Lin Huairou sat by the edge of the bed and looked at her, guilt written on her face. Today, her husband had flown into a rage because of her and stayed out late at night. Her parents had blamed her for being immature and not pleasing her husband. In the entire mansion, only Ayu would ask if she was in pain and upset. And only Ayu dared to do it. But she had been harsh with someone who was so kind, chasing her out of the room and causing her to drink alone in sorrow. She was indeed guilty. "Rest well," she said lightly. "I will come to visit you tomorrow. I will come and apologize again." The goddess was tipsy, vaguely hearing someone calling her. It seemed like Lin Huairou's voice. That person didn't stay long, pulling the blanket over her before leaving. The goddess frowned, suddenly feeling bad. Where was she going? Why didn't she stay by my side? Was she going back to Zhou Shan? "Don't go. Stay with me." After a while, someone came again. That person seemed to want to blow out the lamp, but they somehow walked to her bed and looked at her. That person reached out a cool hand to touch her cheek. That person was asking softly if she wasn't feeling well. That person smelt like Lin Huairou. The goddess sat up, her black hair in a mess. She looked at the person in front of her carefully. She did not know if it was because she was missing her. In her drunken haze, it seemed as if she really saw Lin Huairou and heard her calling Ayu. "Lin Huairou! It is you. You came back, you are staying by my side. You're leaving Zhou Shan, you are going to love your God, your belief." Lin Huairou saw the goddess reach out a hand and press it onto her shoulder, then suddenly leaned over and pressed her lips gently to her own cheek. She was stunned. The goddess was still kissing her, as she asked, "Does it still hurt?" The goddess did not know what she was doing, she only spoke the words in her heart. "It is Zhou Shan's fault, he does not know how to cherish you. Leave him, I will bring you away, I will bring you away. You will not hurt again, and you won't be upset anymore." Her kiss landed on Lin Huairou's cheek, on Lin Huairou's eyebrow, and finally, her lips hovered just in front of Lin Huairou's. The atmosphere was good, even the warm orange light from the lamp had an ambiguous feeling. Liu Shijiao suddenly felt embarrassed watching it. She slowly raised her hand and covered her eyes. Not only did she cover her eyes, she even covered Ying Xiz's eyes. Ying Xiz's world suddenly turned dark and he was forced to bend over. Ying Xize. Knowing that an intimate scene would be filmed today, the scriptwriter Wen Zhuang also came over to watch. At this moment, she was sitting behind the monitor with Guo Hui, watching Liu Jiwei and Sang Wansi act. On the monitor, Liu Jiwei held Sang Wansi's face, her eyes shining. The distance slowly closed between their lips. Before they pulled away, Liu Jiwei turned away and laughed. Sang Wanci held her waist and chuckled before calling out, "Teacher Liu." Liu Jiwei's face was made up to look like she was drunk, so nobody could tell if she was blushing. She could only suppress her laugh and say, "Sorry, I suddenly felt like laughing." Wen Shuang pointed at the monitor and told Guo Hui, "Look, her ear is red. She is embarrassed." Guo Hui smiled, the other girl is not embarrassed at all. Wen Shuang, in terms of how thick their skin is, Teacher Sang is more impressive than Teacher Liu. Guo Hui nodded seriously, then let the actors adjust their emotions and start filming again from the kiss scene. Hearing it, Liu Shijiao slowly moved her fingers away and relaxed. Then, she suddenly heard Ying Xize asked, "Shijiao, can you let go of me now?" Liu Shijiao immediately pulled back her hand. Ying Xize finally saw the world again. Liu Shijiao patted his arm and said, out of consideration for her sister, "Let us go back to the hotel, my sister will definitely be embarrassed if we are here." Ying Xize did not have much opinion, he was fine with anything. Liu Shijiao nodded, "All right, I will go back with my sister's assistant first, you can go look for your friend." Ying Xize rubbed her head again, "All right, call me if there is anything." Liu Shijiao wanted to punch him, "Do not mess up my hair." Ying Xize smiled and tidied up her hair, "Aya, it's not messy." Wen Wen ran to inform Liu Jiwei, then brought Liu Shijiao back to the hotel. Liu Jiwei suddenly felt that the child had grown up, she even knew to spare her sister the embarrassment. Although she would still see it after the movie started showing. Liu Jiwei and Sang Wanci stood by the pond, quietly adjusting their emotions. Guo Hui told the crew not to disturb them, and that they would resume filming after they were done getting into the mood. She wanted the best results, of course the actors had to bring out their best, most natural emotions. Liu Jiwei leaned over and looked at the pond. She was not someone who could not accept intimate scenes. It is only that she suddenly felt a little embarrassed and nervous when she had to do something that she had done multiple times in private with Sang Wanci in front of the cameras. Sang Wanci patted her back, comforting her, "Do not be nervous." Liu Jiwei looked at her and asked curiously, "Wanci, are you nervous?" Sang Wanci nodded. Liu Jiwei straightened up and smiled, "Nervous about what?" "It is the first time filming a kiss scene with you," Sang Wanci said in a low voice that only they could hear, "I am afraid I will not be able to resist kissing you a bit longer." Hearing that, Liu Jiwei smiled and replied honestly, "I am afraid too." Afraid she could not hide her liking for Sang Wanci, afraid she would reveal her feelings. Sang Wanci suddenly said, "Jiwei likes me a lot, the goddess also likes Lin Huairou a lot." Liu Jiwei immediately understood. That's right. If she really could not resist kissing Sang Wanci a bit more, she could just say she got too into character. But if she really could not hide it, then forget about hiding it. Filming was most important, the rest could be discussed later. Go with the flow and leave it up to fate. Let us go, continue filming. Liu Jiwei held Sang Wanci's hand. The faster we finish, the faster we can end work. This might be the only time they had a collaboration with a kiss scene, they had to cherish the opportunity. After preparing, the crew started filming again. The two of them got into character. Guo Hui was surprised to find their attitude was much more relaxed this time. Liu Jiwei held Sang Wanci's face and kissed it again. From the cheek to the eyebrows, showing an intimate love from the goddess tipsy expression. She paused again in front of Sang Wanci's lips. Liu Jiwei was trying her best to forget about the cameras, to immerse herself in the goddess character. The effect was good. Soon, her eyes and mind were filled with only the beautiful person in front of her. Sangwon C's Lin Huairou sat there unmoving, a trace of shock in her eyes. Lin Huairou had never expected that there was someone in this world who cared about her so much, that would still be thinking of her even when they were drunk. She did not expect Yu would actually kiss her. The goddess held her face, looking straight at her lips. There was no rationality, she was intoxicated. The next second, she kissed Lin Huairou, pressing her down. The goddess felt like she was dreaming. It was only in a dream that she could have what she wanted. Only in a dream would Lin Huairou respond to her and give her everything she wanted. Thinking about it, her actions became even bolder. A dream with Lin Huairou was a good dream. Since it was a good dream, she shouldn't have any restraint. She should do what she wanted to do. The fabric of their clothes rubbed together, causing a rustling sound. The ankle bell jingled, but the sound was no longer gentle like it usually was. The goddess undid the waist belt of the person below her, pulling off her restricting and elegant clothes. Her actions were filled with reckless dominance, full of resentment and selfishness. Lin Huairou, your belief has her own selfish desires. She likes you, she wants to have you, all her dreams are of you. So can you like her and leave with her, give up everything here and give yourself a way out? This bed scene was beautifully yet vaguely filmed. Because the actual scene only showed the goddess kissing Lin Huairou. The more intimate scenes would appear in the future in the form of the goddess recalling the dream, and so it would not directly tell the audience whether or not the goddess actually did anything with her believer. So after the two of them finished the kissing scene, they started getting into position for the bed scene. Fingers interlocked. A kiss on the shoulder. A bare back, a slightly raised chin. The goddess buried her head in the crook of Lin Huairou's neck, pressing a kiss to the skin. All these living beings, but she only loved her. This intimate scene was successfully filmed. Sangwon Si lay under Liu Jiwei, looking up at her. Liu Jiwei brushed away her hair unconsciously. The atmosphere was good. The two of them also successfully suppressed their desire for each other, but they felt it was odd. Why was director Guo not calling to cut? The script was only written until here, what else was there to film? They could not need to still hug each other and passionately kiss, right? The two of them communicated with their eyes. Why is director Guo still not calling to cut? We did not film it well. That can't be it. She would call to cut and get us to refilm if we didn't do it well. Ask her directly. The secret conversation came to an end. Liu Jiwei maintained her position on top of Sangwon Si, slowly turning to look at the camera and asking, is not this scene supposed to be over, or did we take the wrong script? Behind the monitors, Guo Hui and Wen Chuang finally came back to their senses. Guo Hui smiled, our two female leads had such a good atmosphere, I was a bit too embarrassed to disturb. They did not do anything but it felt like they did. Why did these two people look so compatible even just lying there together, especially that kiss? The two of them looked like they had a lot of experience, not like it was the first time they were kissing someone. Wen Chuang joked, Aya, if teacher Sang and teacher Liu fall in love because of filming, then our movie would have committed a good deed. Liu Jiwei's face turned red as she lowered her head and covered her face. Seeing it, Sangwon Si smiled and hugged her, rubbing her head. Their personalities were completely different from their characters. The goddess was the daring one in the movie, while Sangwon Si was the daring one outside of the movie. Liu Jiwei, she could not do it, her skin was too thin, she was not even at 30% of Sangwon Si's level. Tonight's intimate scene was finished with just a small stumbling block. When rewatching the scene through the monitor, Liu Jiwei was still a little embarrassed. But it was good that she could accomplish Guo Hui's requests. Another scene would be filmed tomorrow, so they didn't need to show up on the set and they could rest for a day. They had planned to spend the day together, but Liu Shijiao's arrival had disrupted those plans. So they could only enjoy alone time while they were walking back to the hotel. Xiao Chu had left early too. The autumn night was quiet as they slowly walked. Ever since they entered the production crew, they hadn't had a lot of time to accompany each other and slowly stroll like this. The time spent with each other suddenly became very precious. After filming an intimate scene, Liu Jiwei had a lot of emotions left over. She was most concerned with Wen Zhuang's joke about them falling in love after filming. It was not the first time she had heard someone say that. Everybody acted so naturally it was as if they had already come out of the closet. They felt it was very normal and expected too. Was it really like that? She was not sure, but she was a bit curious. She wanted to know the answer too. Wan Si. Liu Jiwei held her hands behind her back as she walked and looked at Sang Wan Si. Do you really not mind people knowing about us? Sang Wan Si paused, immediately understanding what she meant. Jiwei. Liu Jiwei smiled. I am confirming again. Sang Wan Si smiled. I do not mind, I will be very happy. She had wanted to openly date for a very long time. Hearing it, Liu Jiwei held her hand and swung it happily. Let us go, I will bring you to meet my family too. Liu Shijiao stayed in the room and scrolled through her phone. She was looking at the comments for Shackles. Although it was not released yet, many people online had expressed their excitement for this movie. She had scrolled until she was a bit tempted. As a family member who could visit the set, she really wanted to tell everybody that this movie was worth waiting for. Even if she did not know the story, it did not hinder her from being excited after watching Liu Jiwei film. Although it was a little embarrassing watching her sister kiss sister Wan Si, but she wanted to watch the movie now. Besides that, she didn't forget to thank Ying Xize for bringing her to visit. Just as thank you had been sent out, she received Ying Xize's message. Ying Xize, do you want to eat grilled skewers? Liu Shijiao, what the heck, why did this man eat grilled skewers everywhere he went? Ying Xize, Xin Han said there is a really good grilled skewer restaurant near the hotel, so I ordered some and just got it, it is really delicious. Ying Xize, I ordered a lot, do you want it? If you do, I will bring it over for you. Liu Shijiao looked at her stomach and replied immediately, I want it, thanks boss. She would pay, she would not freeload off Ying Xize. Liu Jiwei asked Liu Shijiao for her room number on WeChat, then happily brought her girlfriend up. Sang Wan Si did not say much, she just kept smiling at Liu Jiwei, her eyes filled with gentleness. Her Jiwei was bringing her to meet her family now too. They were one step closer to going public with their relationship. The lift door opened. They found Liu Shijiao's room. They knocked and waited. Soon, Liu Shijiao rushed over to open the door with a skewer of grilled corn in her hand. You are here, come in, there are grilled skewers. Liu Jiwei and Sang Wan Si walked into the room and closed the door. The skewers were not the important point, coming out of the closet was. Jiao Jiao, Liu Jiwei said. I have something to tell you. Sang Wan Si bit back a smile and looked at her. Liu Shijiao held onto the grilled corn. What is it? Liu Jiwei was not planning to beat around the bush. She wanted to be as direct and as brave as Sang Wan Si was when she came out to Meng Lianyu. So she pulled Sang Wansi to her side and introduced her solemnly, Jiao Jiao, this is your sister-in-law. Lu Shijiao. Sis, sister-in what? Lu Jiwei and Sang Wansi were waiting for Lu Shijiao to say something. The next second, they saw Ying Xize walk out from behind the wall, wiping the water from his hands as he asked with a surprised face, who is sister-in-law? Sang Wansi. Lu Jiwei. Why are you here too?